Hogstye.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hogseye. It is the show that you listen to on Juneteenth when you're not working, because we just have another holiday now, but it's on a Thursday, which is the worst. Stop putting holidays on Thursdays.
I think Juneteenth is the stupidest holiday imaginable. Not because, before you guys freak out, it's not because I'm upset about celebrating the end of slavery. It's because it's a phony made up holiday.
Well,
You
it's
know
a
what
phony made
Juneteenth
up
really
date.
is?
Yeah,
Yes, it's the date that some of the slaves in Texas were notified that slavery had ended months ago.
right.
Not nationwide, just
No,
some of the slaves in Texas.
it was basically
Nice.
the last big gaggle to be told.
The real holiday really should be the date of the Emancipation Proclamation, if you really want, or the surrender of Lee at Appomattox. That really
So
should be the date,
I say
not
let's
this
celebrate everything.
ridiculous.
Let's celebrate them all. You know, like when Rome was at its downfall, they had a holiday every other day. I think we should just follow
I,
the Roman route.
Maybe so.
Right.
Of course, we wouldn't be a productive country if that was the case. But I
That's
think
why
actually,
Rome did it.
I think that actually Juneteenth is the second stupidest holiday of the year. The stupidest is President's Day.
Because
Nobody's
they
told me.
just split the difference between which president.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. That
What
I
are
don't know
you
what I'm supposed to be
what are you
celebrating, and I
talking
don't want
about?
to.
You get great deals on mattresses that day. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
Well,
I
There,
mean,
there's
yeah,
that.
there's not a big Juneteenth sale, day as
no.
far
Not
as I
yet.
know.
Not yet.
It'll happen. It's a
And
bit
here's the
morbid though, is it not? I mean,
well, it's really kind of a dark thing to be like, these were the last guys we told. You know?
yeah, that's
Like,
what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
and but it's I just don't understand why we decided that day. Pick another end of
Right.
slavery day. I don't get it.
So in DC, Emancipation Day is a city holiday, for example. Like that's a thing.
I think the
I know
problem is
some other
Emancipation Day
states
is
have
in
that.
Is Emancipation Day not in January? I think that's the problem.
I think that I'd have to double check the date because I'm not a city employee. It never happened, so I never got it off and never kept track. Um, but yes, I kind of get what you're saying. But here's my thing: since it's called Juneteenth and we don't actually know what day, we just know it's in the teens in June. We really should just make it whatever Monday or Friday falls between the 13th and 19th every June. It shouldn't be June 19th every year. Just flex it because we don't know what day it was.
See, I say now, this is why the date isn't the Emancipation Proclamation, because Lincoln
Yeah.
made the speech on the January 1st.
Oh,
That's why.
we already get it off for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next thing, to me, then the next one would be the surrender of Robert E. Lee at Appomattox.
That's not a bad one.
That
That's
would
another
that
one.
would be
Yeah.
that would be a better one than some made up day in June that affected some people in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. In Galveston, to be technical.
Yeah, yeah,
Fairly close to where Steve is.
fairly
And
close.
so if the people of Galveston, Steve, haven't figured out like a sale to do for Juneteenth, I don't know what. Don't depend
See,
on the
I've
rest of us
moved
to
to
figure it out.
Houston. Honestly, I'd never heard of Juneteenth, and I remember the
Right.
first day I was like, "What the hell is Juneteenth, people? What
Right.
are we even? I don't even know what this is." It took me
Yeah.
like a couple years before I remembered what it was.
Right. It is definitely a Texas thing, and people from Texas are puzzled that the rest of us didn't know what it was at the same time.
There's a lot of Texas things that I don't subscribe to.
Yes, I've never seen
Like
you in a cowboy hat.
I call it the Yeehaw Texas effect. I don't do that. The
Right.
the Yeehaw Texas effect are these people who I've lived in too many places. I love down here for a variety of reasons, but I do not subscribe to the Yeehaw Texas effect, which is, we are the best state in the country because we're Texas, and we're gonna wear a cowboy hat and drive a pickup truck because we can't. I don't
Mhm.
do that.
No. And for the record, I just have a broad rule. If I ever see you wearing a cowboy hat and a suit at the same time,
The show is over.
I can't respect. Well, no, not you personally. Anybody, anyone I see dressed that way, I do not take them seriously as a human being because a
Me
cowboy hat
neither.
is made for rustling cattle.
Cowboys.
Yes,
Yes.
it's made for a job, and it's not a job that wears a suit. So stop it.
There's a lot of people down here who do.
I know, and guess what? I don't. That's why I don't take Texas seriously as a state. You have too many of
That's why. That's the
that.
only
And the Dallas
reason.
Cowboys. Speaking of Dallas Cowboys, just random tangent because I was scouring for news, football-based news.
It is a slow
it's the
time of
dry
year, folks.
season.
Yeah.
I would like to applaud my distant cousin Harry. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, that's Harry of Windsor. But very distant cousin. Apparently, he is a neighbor of Troy Aikman, and he never talks to Troy Aikman, which is good for you. Never talk to a cowboy.
Wait. Harry
Why
of
would
Windsor,
he never
wait a
talk
minute.
to? Why would he never talk to Aikman though?
Right. Well, so Prince Harry lives in.
Are we
the
talking
same...
about Prince Harry as a distant cousin of yours? Is
Yes.
that what you just said?
Very distant cousin. Yes.
You have the most insanely remarkable family history of anybody I know.
Right.
So like once a year you drop some bomb on
Right.
this show about some crazy family tie you have.
Right. Well, so I'm a direct descendant of Robert the Bruce. You guys know that. So
Yes.
therefore, I am directly related to the Stewart family because they're also descendants of the the Bruces, and therefore very distant cousin Harry. I have more hair than Harry because they're all going bald. So
Did you tell him he's crazy and he needs to dump that lunatic wife of his?
I've never talked to him. Of course not. But I would
You
tell him
should tell
he
him.
should. I should.
Yes.
But I would also
she
tell
has
him.
truly ruined his life.
I would also tell him that good for him for not talking to Troy Aikman, because if Troy Aikman was your neighbor, you shouldn't talk to him either, because he's a cowboy.
Dude, listen, I would talk to Troy Aikman if he was my neighbor. I'm sorry to tell you.
You would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there any cowboy you wouldn't talk to Michael? Michael Irvin.
Michael, I don't. I would not. He is a scumbag. No, I would not.
Right. He would
Troy
also try
Aikman's a
and stab
decent
you.
dude. Well, yeah, he might. Yeah. But Troy Aikman's a decent dude. I mean, if he wasn't the quarterback of the Cowboys, he would be a decent guy.
Sure, if he had been quarterback of a respectable team, an honorable team, like say the Cincinnati Bengals or the the Pittsburgh Steelers.
If he was a quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, his career would have been ruined, and you would never have even remembered he was in the NFL.
That's also true. That's also
his
true.
career would have been over in like 4 years.
Exactly.
After that first season where he went 1-15, he'd been done. By the way, I didn't do introductions. Steve is here, of course. Steve is here. Dave is back. Dave, I'm glad that we found a new microphone for you to reach. So welcome back.
Well,
are you in a booster seat now, or how does it work?
I'm up to two phone books. One of them with the yellow pages and the white pages. So I got that roll. Oh yeah,
that real thick guy. Yeah.
Yes,
nice.
That one that my brother used to throw on my head half the time.
Right.
Well, we're glad you can reach the microphone.
Dave was in Florida, in the worst heat possible. Why you would go to Florida this time of year, I don't know. But that's just it. You live your life.
Oh, what's crazy is that the heat is so oppressive down there. I literally had a day where I was tired by like 1 o'clock, and I did absolutely nothing.
I'm tired by 1 o'clock most days, but that's
you
just
guys are a bunch of weenies, okay? It's not that bad.
Well, see, Steve, how long you lived in Texas for?
I lived in Florida too. I lived in Texas.
Yeah, but how long you lived in? Yeah, but you've been there so you're used to it.
Yeah,
I'm not used to that.
I've lived in the cold. I've lived in the heat.
Right.
I lived in Florida. I lived in a desert in California. It's I think you guys are weenies.
I don't mind deserts. Desert heat is not bad.
I was out in New Mexico for 4 years, and I went to Vegas after that for 2 years. So I mean, sure, I got adjusted and acclimated to the heat, and it wasn't as bad. But man, when you're not used to it anymore, and you go down there when the heat is at its worst, it slaps you in the face.
Steve is mimicking a violin. Just I'm gonna narrate here for everybody.
No, the cold is another matter. I mean, the cold is horrible and oppressive, and that nobody should be subjected to cold.
Hey, Steve, can you play that violin for me while you speak? Ain't nothing up here. Hey, nothing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like I talked to my brother up in Vermont, and in the winter he's just like, "Yeah, I got 5 feet of snow. I'm just not leaving my house for the next
Down
month." You know,
here in South Texas, if it gets below about 50, it's freezing.
right? People
I've
die.
literally
Yep.
had work canceled because of temperature
Yep.
down here.
And I'm in a hoodie and shorts up here when it's about 36 degrees.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. No.
I'm with Dave here. That's what body hair and stuff is for, you know. My wife has
Uh,
convinced me to stop wearing sandals when it's snowing, which was, progress. So,
And-
that was it.
No thanks. Give me 100 degrees any day of the year.
Now, Steve, I'm sure you are familiar with Buc-ee's.
Oh yeah, Buc-ee's.
We,
That's the
we
most
stopped-
Texas thing ever. It really is.
Yeah,
Hold on.
but
Do you want me to?
It's
I'll be right
it's-
back. Let me see if I have it in my kitchen. I have a Buc-ee's mug. From
Oh,
when
I
visit-
actually got a Buc-ee's little bottle and can cooler. And the lid
Nice.
comes off, you put it inside there, and then boom. Dude, the things we did at Buc-ee's was insane, man. And their brisket sandwich is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Their Buc-ee's is the most Texas-y thing ever. For those of you who don't know what they're
Right.
talking about, it's
Mm.
the largest gas station you will ever see in your life.
Right.
They all are enormous, like the size of like half a Walmart.
It's basically if a Walmart and a Wawa had sex and created a baby, it would be a Buc-ee's.
What's a Wawa?
It's a high-end gas
Really?
station that has
You know what
like
a Wawa is, right?
full-service food.
I don't think I do know what Wawa is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't. Is that in New Jersey? A New Jersey
No,
thing?
it's all on
And-
the East Coast.
Yeah.
I don't recall Wawa. I mean, I probably have seen it when I was there, but I don't recall
Well,
it.
it's mostly up on the north side, right? They're starting to migrate more down south and everything, but
Yeah, they're past DC now, but they're not probably further than the Carolinas.
What I can tell you is the people of Texas are very proud of Buc-ee's.
They should be. Buc-ee's also, by the way, Buc-ee's pays really well. If you ever look
Yeah.
at their information, like they pay better than like a lot of places. I think you can make like $200K a year if you're a manager of a Buc-ee's or something ridiculous like
Must
that.
be nice.
Yeah. Steve, they're making lawyer money and they're just running a gas station.
Listen, there's a lot of people are making good money and have no degrees, which
Yep. That's true.
because
That's
my
true.
3 degrees aren't as worth as much as they used to be. You
No.
can either be a manager of Buc-ee's or an attorney. You go
Right.
to school for a decade.
Right, you can make kolaches and those brisket sandwiches Dave was talking about are so good.
yeah.
Buc-ee's is fantastic. I love Buc-ee's. It's the
Yeah.
only reason I'll go to Houston to visit my wife's family.
That's the only reason.
And of course in our first like 20 no actually no we're past that after about our 150 or 200-mile mark driving down to Florida,
Mhm.
and my wife just got done getting a Bronco, a rock hit the top of the windshield,
Oh no.
about a 2-inch long crack right there.
Oh.
And I was watching it grow. And of course, it's coming down where instead of going where the crack was initially moved, which would have been above my line of sight, no, it arcs down, goes right across my vision, then it arcs back over, right back across my vision again. So it's like, I'm like, you gotta be ridiculous. And we wound up just
Ugh.
getting it replaced like 2 days ago. like-
that sucks.
I think, man, yeah.
New car too. That
Yes.
sucks. Yeah.
That's called first world problems.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is. You are right
that's
about
true.
that, Steve. Yes.
So I will tell again, since we are really we have nothing urgent to talk about. I picked up a new hobby. Steve will never do this one. I took a blacksmithing class last weekend. Yeah, I went. There's a place now here. You'll appreciate this, Steve. It's called Lawless Forge. That's the name of the place. I highly recommend it.
Lawless Forge.
Yes, I recommend if you live in Virginia or DC, go check it out. You can do like 3-hour classes, learn how to make.
So I can summarize this by saying you were bored, so you went to Lawless Forge, Virginia, to take a blacksmithing
No,
class?
Lawless Forge is the name of the company.
Oh,
It's in
okay.
Sterling. Yeah,
What possessed you to take a blacksmithing class? And no, I
Just-
would never do that.
just looking for fun things to do.
And that's what you came. Were all the other fun things on the planet taken? I mean, closed? What?
No, it was fun because you build stuff with your hands like a real man would sometimes.
Can't I
Um,
pay somebody to do that for me?
yeah, but there's no feeling of reward there. And
I
I've
it's
taken the
been reward
godson
enough.
there to do it, and because he's a 14-year-old, he needs to get off the computer, so that was also part of it.
Did you? If you're gonna make something, hopefully you made a sword.
We're gonna go back and do knives. The first one we did because he loves Chinese food. We made chopsticks, which apparently is harder than making a knife. I found out after the
Aren't
fact.
chopsticks
Interesting.
wood, not metal?
You can make them out of anything.
I guess you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So we made
So,
chopsticks.
so am I going to see you on an episode of Forge later?
Not quite there yet. No, but
So,
the kicker is it was called Lawless Forge. Steve, the first thing they had me do was sign legal waivers, at the Lawless Forge.
you should have called me.
I should sue them for name for false advertising.
So what we've learned today, and we do need to get to Redskin
Yeah.
news eventually, but what we learned today is that Alex is one related to Prince Harry, and two is a blacksmith.
Well, yes. On the other side of my family, they were smiths. Like I have a copper pot my great great grandfather.
I don't
made.
believe there's anybody I've ever met or ever will meet that has those two similar characteristics.
Yes,
He's got a genealogy like if you go through Genesis of the Bible.
I do.
Yeah.
I look. I because there's an aristocratic line. I was able to trace back one line of my family to like the year 800, which was cool. It was to a Viking who came over to England who was nicknamed the Skull Crusher, or something like
See,
that.
When you're
Yeah.
related to a line of hillbillies, it doesn't, we don't have
There's
that.
also a guy named Skull Crusher, but he's just crushing cans of tobacco, and that's how he got the nickname. My guy got it with doing much worse things than just chewing tobacco.
Depends on whose skull he's crushing as to whether it's bad or not.
Well, I'm assuming he wasn't a nice man.
Probably not.
People just weren't back then. All right, let's focus in. We buffered. We've buffered successfully. Not a lot to talk about this week, as I've been saying. So we're going to do some fun, what we call evergreen topics, and this is just things that you can always talk about. That's what an evergreen topic is. So we were brainstorming, and I thought we would do some fun topics of just nostalgia topics. We're going to talk about some of our all-time favorite memories of this team. We're going to start with one that Steve came up with, a favorite. We're going to start with the positive, and then we'll get to the negative because the negative's more fun. But who is your guys' all-time favorite Redskins player? And I'm saying Redskins because, let's be honest, it's not going to be a Commander or a football teamer yet.
If
So.
you're 18, it may be, but
Yeah, maybe.
my all-time favorite Redskins player,
And why we should do that, right?
probably at the end of the day, John Riggins, I would say. I mean, he was he revitalized the team. He was a maverick. And if you look at his stats, they don't compare really to running backs of today, but it just seemed like every game he was in, he took command, and he kind of ruled the game, and love him. Love John
Sure.
Riggins.
The amazing thing about Riggins is he is still listed widely as a fullback. Like if you look at a lot of NFL websites, he's not a running back. He's just a fullback. Yet he put up all those numbers, and he did play a lot of fullback too. That's the wild part.
Yeah, I could name a lot of them, but I mean, I guess probably him.
Okay,
Well,
Dave,
for
what
me,
about you?
Well, for me, I mean, you guys already know this answer anyway, I think. It's Darrell Green without a doubt. I mean, when I really started following the Redskins and really got into the team, that's when they basically drafted Darrell Green, and I kind of just went with the team with him. And of course, an undersized corner drafted in the back end of the first round. Actually, and there were many from what I recall, there were many analysts that thought that he was actually picked a little early because of his size, even though he had the speed and he had the football intellect and everything, but he came from a smaller school and everything. But I mean, he was just an absolute game changer on the outside. One of the few corners you watch go against guys like Jerry Rice and Tim Brown later on and all them, and actually lock him up. You know, and he was one of the few corners that had the innate ability to be able to do that. And when he made a mistake, you can he always had that short-term memory, reset himself, and he learned from his mistakes, adjusted through the game. I mean, he was just an all-time great, period in the NFL. Let alone
I think
just the
all the
Redskins.
great corners can readjust like that.
Yes.
Because even Darrell Green got beat sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But you never see him. But you would never see him get beat by the same player in the same game or even in the same season within a division.
Well, he was just so fast that he could make
Yeah.
up for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And of course, when he ran down Eric Dickerson, Tony Dorsett, he ran down who else am I thinking of?
Well, he ran down a lot of people, Dave.
Yeah, but I'm talking about prominent running backs.
Well, the
that
two
were
that everybody knows were Dorsett and Dickerson,
Right.
which is what
Yeah.
you'd already said.
Yeah.
I mean, the impressive thing about those is not just that he ran him down, because Darrell Green was fast. Everyone knows he might have been the fastest player in the history of the league. It's
Bullet
that
Bob Hayes probably the fastest, but certainly he's in the top 3.
yeah,
Top 2.
top
You'd have to. Yeah, I mean, Bullet Bob Hayes was an Olympic medal winner, and you know,
it'd be tough to. I'm sure there are metrics that we could find, but my point was going to be more the fact that Green was such a little guy as a corner, and he was taking down those bigger guys. Well, running them down was equally impressive, because we talk about how great Green was. His size, even back then, he was not a big corner.
he was 5'8".
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think they listed him as 5'10", but he was probably.
Well, see,
I've seen him at 5'8".
Probably the most impressive part of his game is the fact that he was always able to keep his line of sight of him, the receiver, and the quarterback, and he would almost run the route for the receiver.
Right.
Well after about halfway through the first quarter, once he understood what was going on at the line of scrimmage, he got to a point to where he was almost probably even able to call the upcoming play that he knew was going to happen anyway. Yeah. That's just how he was, and acumen wise for football. I mean, he was an intelligent corner. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna have two answers with the caveat that one is like the childhood hero idol, which was Art Monk. To me, he exemplified the kind of professionalism, work ethic that I respect, and honestly even try to emulate that in my adult life. You don't say a lot, you just are quietly there and excelling at your job. Hard worker, good dude off the field, good dude on the field. Like, you can't praise Art Monk enough for that personality as well as just production, of course. But I'm gonna give a very different answer for when I really kind of was watching football more as an adult, understanding the game, and that's Chris Cooley. The tight end wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't the fastest guy as a tight end, but his ability just to get open short and make plays after he caught the ball, I always loved him. And I think he was kind of like the heart of the team for a lot of years, even though he may not have been the best player. He had that personality. He was outgoing during some really rough years.
I thought you were going to say it was his ability to rope in cheerleaders that was
also a plus. Also a minus for him, given that, I'm sure there were some ugly divorce settlements there.
Sorry, my dog is going crazy again here. He's looking at dogs outside the house again.
He's excited about Chris Cooley. He
it was Chris Cooley set him off. It's not the dog on the sidewalk again. It's Chris Cooley.
Nope. Chris Cooley's just hanging outside of Steve's house. It's very strange.
It is odd.
Making pottery there. Like he's got a pottery wheel just in Steve's lawn. No, but those would be my Cooley's probably my favorite just from, teenager up, because, I was 10 when the team won their last Super Bowl. So like I don't really remember those teams that much, that as well as you guys would, obviously.
Right.
So that would be favorite. All right, we're gonna do. Do we want to do another favorite, or we'll save the negative stuff for last because it's the most fun. But all right, give me your guys' favorite play or a game you remember, not a playoff game, not like a big seminal thing, but just like a weird thing you remember from a regular season game that's still like just burned into your memory.
Well, okay. That one would be the Sean Taylor play against the Cowboys when I'm trying to remember the exact circumstances of it. Dallas is going to kick a field goal to win the game at the end of the game.
Right.
And then the kick got blocked. Sean Taylor ended up running the ball back.
Okay.
Remember this play?
Oh, of course.
If you're talking about just playing a regular game, because I have a game in my head too, but that just regular playing a regular game, it was that one. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about.
That one play is pretty epic. Sure.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of have that one burned in our memory. Who was it? Troy Vincent was the other safety on the field who blocked the kick, and Taylor picked it up.
It might have been him.
I think it was.
I can't remember.
Wow. Yeah, I can't remember that.
It could have been LaRon Landry, I guess.
No,
I don't really remember.
I think it was post Landry. I think. All right. Well, we might be able to look it up. What about you, Dave? You got a play or game?
It's hard to recall because now that Steve mentioned Sean Taylor, the one thing that I recall is a Monday night game against the Eagles where Todd Pinkston came across the middle of the field because he had already got tuned up earlier in the game, and he did a quick slant across the middle, and Sean Taylor was right there, and Pinkston literally just bailed on the route, rounded it off, and just basically ran away from Sean Taylor. And it was great because, of course, that's all I hear is my brothers going, "What are you think?" I mean, it was definitely in the second half. I can't remember the third or fourth quarter. And the Eagles were somewhat driving with McNabb, but it wasn't a bad throw by McNabb either. And then here he is, Todd. I believe it was Pinkston anyway. He had the hit in the first half embedded in his mind, and he was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm making a business decision here." And he just literally just basically ran around Sean Taylor.
Right. I would say so. I'm going to just do a full game here, and it's of course going to be the Cowboy Killer game where Santana Moss caught the two late touchdowns to beat Dallas on primetime when Washington had done nothing all game. That's got to be the most memorable game / final like 2 minutes of a game for me. That was such a wild game to win. And of course, it's versus the Cowboys. All those games matter more. We all know that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with that one as my all-time moment.
If you guys are listening to this out there, send us a tweet.
Right.
About what your most memorable non-playoff, non-Super Bowl play is.
Because it's nostalgia time of year. This is when you start thinking of the good old days. And I will say a weird one. Another weird one is when McNabb was the quarterback for Washington for half a season or whatever it was. When they beat the Packers, that was another game that I just remember being like so over the moon happy because the Packers were such a good team and Washington stank. And somehow
I thought you were going to say it was the one time that McNabb accidentally threw the ball into the dirt.
No, accidentally happens. But I do remember that because I was at the game. That's why I remember it so well. That big touchdown pass he threw towards the end of the game. That ball, I was sitting in the fourth tier. I'm pretty sure that ball got eye level with me. It was so really high up. Yeah, so that would be another minor one, but less so. Obviously, I think the Cowboy Killer game's going to be way above that. All right, so let's go back to some of these others. A player you've met in person that you really, really liked. Go ahead with that.
Well, I got two of them.
Yeah.
Art Monk. I went to a signing
Mhm.
at Fair Oaks Mall in like Nordstrom's or somewhere just because he
Right.
was there. And I got a chance to talk to him for maybe 5 minutes because the line was kind of stagnant and we were just staying there because I forget who, there were two other players there.
Mhm.
Um, and so and he was a super nice guy. And the other one, I think I've told this story, but I'm not going to tell all the story to be honest. But I got a chance to spend time with Dave Butts. You guys know the story. I don't really
Yeah.
want to get into the details about why on the air, but I'll just say I had his Super Bowl ring on my hand, and
Right.
that
Wow.
was very memorable. I'll tell you off the air, but I don't want to get into why it was here on the air.
I
No,
mean,
no, that's a good
I
one.
mean, for me, I've only met one Redskin player. I mean, obviously living up in Philadelphia, I didn't travel much down to go
Right.
see the team or any signings or anything like that. Would have to be Gary Clark when I had the
Mm.
when my first season my first year as season ticket holder, and I got a chance to meet him and everything, and of
Mm.
course when I'm up in line, I'm sitting there and I'm acting like a like somebody fresh out of well, actually still in high school, nervous to meet my childhood hero basically. And then I'm going up there, I'm just kind of saying, "Hey, how you doing?" And my wife turns around, and it's like, "Yeah, he's been anxious and waiting to see you all day, and he's
Oh, your
nervous.
wife
I
embarrassed the hell out of you, is
Oh
what you're
yeah,
telling
it's like I've
us.
never seen him at a loss for words right now, and
Yeah.
he's over the
You're
moon, all this
fanboyed
and
out. Yeah.
yeah, right. So,
I
but
get it.
yeah,
That's a good one. So obviously, I got to meet a lot of active players during training camp when we actually were able to get access to training camp back when Bruce Allen was there and he didn't give two craps about who got in, which is what.
Before we really mouthed off about the owner.
Yeah.
yeah,
But Bruce Allen was just drunk. He's like, "Yep, approve everything,"
Hey, it took us years to get in, actually,
It
but
did.
yeah,
It did. It did.
continue.
I was just making a little fun there about Bruce because we all love making fun of Bruce. Uh, I did get to chat with Trevor Maddich briefly at one of those training camps, and he's obviously a sideline beat writer, reporter, or whatever you want. He was in that weird, like, he's not a beat writer, but he's like he does the beat writer things mode of his career because he was kind of like a commentator, but he would nicest guy, super nice. Also, I don't care how big you think he is, he's bigger than you think. Like,
I told you I spent time with Dave Butts.
yeah, yeah. I don't care how big you think some of these NFL players are, especially old school linemen. They're massive human beings.
I also stood
Like,
next to Chris Samuels once, and he was impressively large.
yeah, yeah, I believe it. Like, I think Trevor Maddich could have grabbed my head with his hand and it would have reached all around my head. Like, that's how big he was. And you guys know I have a giant head. I have a huge noggin.
You
Like,
do have a big fat head.
I do. And a lot of hair, like big poofy Jufro type thing
Yes.
going right now. So
You use the
even
word
so,
Jufro, not me. Just
I
for the
did.
record.
Yes, I did. Yeah, so that would be my favorite. All right. Um Now let's do the negative one because this is the one Steve came up with that is going to be the most fun.
I've got to be negative at some point. You can't expect me
Yeah.
to be positive all the time.
All right. Steve suggested who is your least favorite Redskin of all time,
Mine is
and
super easy.
I'm gonna double down on this though. You got to give me one player who was drafted, or spent a majority of his career with the team as well,
Okay, I got it.
and a free agent because
I
free
got it.
agent's easy. Yes.
Okay, so my least favorite free agent signing is Deion Sanders, who I
Mm-hmm.
hate. I hate Deion Sanders. Greatly dislike him. He's I think represents everything that's wrong with professional football and celebrity in general. Horrible, miserable person. Can't stand it. I really hated the fact that they signed him, and I hated it more the fact that they benched Darrell Green to let Deion Sanders start. That really annoyed me. So,
Right.
and in terms of drafted players, it's probably got to be Michael Westbrook. The guy had so much talent and he just wasted it all. And he got in a fight with Stephen Davis, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just a total waste of natural talent. So Michael Westbrook, Deion Sanders. There you go. There's mine.
Well, mine for free agent signing has to be Jeff George. I mean, we moved on from
Mm,
Brad Johnson at that time, basically, to go for Jeff George, who did nothing in his career, was a highly touted draft pick, number one overall, great arm, but man, his attitude was horrible. It was probably the
right.
definition of toxicity you could have in the NFL. Period. So I mean, he was one guy. I probably lost half my hair because of that signing.
That's a
Probably.
good one. I had forgotten about
Yeah.
Jeff George. I would still put Dion over him
Oh,
just 'cause I dislike him so
Yeah.
much, but that's a really good one.
And then this one might surprise you guys a little bit, but one of my least favorite drafted players is LeVar Arrington. And because I'm a Penn State guy,
interesting. All right.
and I saw what he was able to do on the field. And now, granted, I do agree with one aspect of LeVar Arrington. They didn't really utilize him properly. I get that, and I do understand that side of it. But he was such a good player, such a great. He was a definition of a game-changing linebacker. A guy who could play anywhere on the field, move him anywhere. Just because he was not being played the way that he wanted to be played, he stunted, in my opinion anyway. He stunted his own career growth on what he could have been because he was too sour because of what he wanted to be, as opposed to playing in the scheme that he still could have flourished in if he would have just done what he was supposed to do. And he would have been a great player in this league, probably even a Hall of Fame player. I'm sold on that fact. If he would have done that, but his attitude was terrible with all that,
He had
and he
a
wasn't.
miserable he had a miserable
Yes,
attitude for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
He,
and
he's
he hurt himself with his attitude.
yes,
a little
yes.
bit. And uh, yeah, I think one, you guys had some outstanding answers. I mean, like, Steve, two perfect answers. Dave, the LeVar is a hot take. I'll be honest,
Well,
but
well,
otherwise,
see, I
yeah.
say that with LeVar because when I watched him and when we drafted him, I was like, here we go, this is going to be
Hmm.
great. I watched him for 3 years, and now he's going to come in here, he's going to dominate the league. I was expecting all of this, and then boom, all that happened. I was just like, you know what, man, I had a bar up here a lot higher
Hmm.
than probably most did because he was one of my favorite Penn State guys
A
coming out.
bar right above your head for you is about at waist level for everybody else, though.
It's a
Yeah, but
ballet bar.
it's a great limbo bar though.
Yeah.
uh, so look, I'm gonna say, look, the easy answer for most hated free agents gonna probably be Hainsworth, right? Like for a lot of fans, and I'm gonna put him in there just because I feel like we would be doing a disservice by not mentioning him. And it's not even for what he didn't do on the field. It's for the piece of crap he was off the field.
Right.
He was a terrible person. They should not have taken him on just because his personality was that of a locker room cancer to begin with. He had all those legal issues, the road rage incident, just a miserable human
You're
being.
forgetting the most he's the only player who's ever taken a nap on a field
That's true.
during a game.
was
That's like
actually
his most famous play.
that's actually a most admired moment in a way. Um,
The fact that he was able to take a nap during a live football
it,
game on the field while he was
it's
And
one of
make
the
it
few
and make it
horrible
10 million to
things.
do so.
Yeah.
See, think of it this way: it's one of the few horrible things he ever did that didn't hurt anyone else.
Well, I could have got his linebacker or somebody killed,
That's true. That's
by
true.
failing to block.
Um, so that would be the easy answer for free agency, honestly. I am going to go a little more controversial on a player I just don't like, who Washington drafted, and I'm going to say it's for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, Steve, about Deion Sanders, and similar with LeVar, but not quite. And it's Robert Griffin. This is a man whose hubris and
Wow.
arrogance
Okay.
completely derailed any potential he had at being a great player. He is the most self-absorbed person I think I've ever seen in pro sports, especially, and I will include his post-playing career in that too. The man is a Class A narcissist, and I don't think he's ever going to recognize that he was at 99% at fault for his own failures.
I don't hate Robert Griffin nearly as much as other people because he had the one great year, and I agree with you the narcissism, the arrogance, and I don't respect people who dump their high school girlfriend for some,
because they're too
person.
busy
Yeah,
cheating around. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't respect any of that stuff. But he had the one great year. But more importantly, I think the team enabled a lot of that behavior.
Yep.
Dan Snyder allowed it to happen. Dan Snyder's the one that allowed his parents in the building, allowed them to cavort with him. So I don't blame solely his massive ego for what happened, and so that's why I didn't put him.
But
I've never
I,
really hated him like other
I
people
would say that's all true. I would say that's also why Dion became what he was. It was because the Jerry Joneses of the world enabled him.
Oh, for
Because
sure, but
yeah,
he just annoys me far more than Robert Griffin for a
well,
variety
he
of
had a
reasons.
he. The thing is, also had a longer career.
Well,
He
and he
and
came from Dallas, and he's just so openly narcissistic, and
yeah,
it's never ended. I really hate Deion Sanders.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think they are very much cut of the same cloth. If
Yeah,
RG3 hadn't been hurt and had a decent NFL career, he would be 1,000 times worse, just like Dion is now.
maybe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it didn't
So
happen.
no, it did not. But I'm just saying, like that. It's why. Like it's not what they did on the field necessarily. It's very
No.
much who they were off the field.
Well,
That I
if you
think.
beat up your teammate, you're going to be up there on my list.
Oh, that yeah, obviously that too. Or if you even stepped on a dude's head without a helmet on him,
Yeah, there's
I put you.
one.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
put you on the list for that too. Uh, so there are our most hated, which it was the most fun to talk about. Let's
I
be
would
honest.
venture a guess for most people, it'd probably be Robert Griffin. Like certainly the younger crowd,
Oh yeah.
probably him.
Well,
Yeah.
so here's the thing. I think let's be honest. There's a racial element where like African American fans will never put him on that list.
I don't know if
There's
that's true or not. I
Well,
wouldn't
no,
be willing to
well,
go so far as to say
I,
that.
I think I've seen plenty on just Twitter alone that have actually called him out
Yeah.
and actually put
mm,
him on blast because of his attitude and stuff like that. You know, I think there are definitely fans out there that right away before he took first snap, because he was an African American quarterback, that right away I'm going to put him behind the eight ball because I don't want that guy on my team being my quarterback. I'm sure that there were fans out there like that too. But I mean, as
yes.
far as
Sadly, there probably still are that too.
but I think I think overall with everything what Steve said about RG3, I agree wholeheartedly with all of that. I mean, he had so much talent, so much upside. He was not the upside of being a great quarterback. I don't think he would have ever been a great quarterback, but in terms of for that RPO system that Kyle Shanahan was bringing in and all that,
Mm-hmm.
it was just a shame that Dan Snyder just basically did
Ruined
what
it.
he did. You know,
Yeah.
he
And because
ruined
the
all of that.
system, the system was before its time.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah,
And listen,
It's the normal NFL now.
I will call out the racial incident if I think it's worthy. Consequences be damned for whoever listens, but I don't
Right.
think in this case there's much of a racial element to Robert Griffin hate or like or hate in my opinion.
No,
I
I
think there's
think
less
no,
now than there would have been 10 years ago, but yes,
I think
sure.
overall you're correct on that. I think most of it was just I think a lot I think there were a good number of fans that hated Dan Snyder for allowing all this to happen
Oh
when
yeah, oh absolutely.
when Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan were trying to develop
Hmm.
a plan for the guy going forward. Because
I,
I mean, because Mike Shanahan basically won. Well, okay, I didn't get Tannehill like I wanted, so we have this because the owner wanted him. Well, we have him. Kyle Shanahan put something together. Now we're going to put together a plan to where maybe in 2 years I can walk away. Kyle Shanahan takes on his coach, and now you have your quarterback going forward. I bet you all that was in their head. But Dan Snyder
yep.
is Dan Snyder. It was never
Well,
going to happen anyway.
I actually do think we don't appreciate enough how much the mishandling of the RG3 Kirk Cousins quarterback situation is what
Yeah.
broke the fan base and finally
Oh,
made it so bad
absolutely.
that Dan Snyder
Yeah.
had to sell. I
That was
think
certainly one of the major
I
events.
think that might have been the straw that really broke the camel's back because they never recovered from it. Like
No.
there was never like even when the team was doing decent under Kirk Cousins, like it was not the same after that. All right, so we have 15 minutes. Let's do the corners. Then, if we can, I want to talk about Steve's article, too.
I did some
So
film studies. So let me talk about it. So let's knock out corners.
let's knock out corners very quickly. Position group breakdown for corners. This is our, if you don't know what this is, our position group breakdown thing, then you haven't been listening. And I don't know what's wrong with you. So
oh my God, Alex, do a better job, for Christ's sake.
All right, fine. Like we are going to we look at the roster after the draft and after free agency and break down each position group one at a time, mostly so we can fill time during the offseason. Is that better, Steve?
Was that so hard?
All right, let us start off with the big name, Marshawn Lattimore. He did show up after the optional team activities to go to mandatory training camp or mini camp. So yay, Marshawn Lattimore showed up for work. Had a very subpar year after we traded for him from the Saints. What did Washington? It was a 3rd and a 5th, I believe they gave up for Lattimore. Yeah. Not a huge amount to give up for a starting corner, but he struggled last year, and the fact that he is not showing up for every little thing in order to get better is a fair concern, I would say, if you're a fan of the team. He's making $18 million right now, Steve? Am I I think I'm in the ballpark, right?
No. Yeah. Give me a second here.
Well, Steve's looking for
Lattimore. It's his cap hit is 18.
Right.
His base is 16, and there's some bonuses tied up in there. So,
gotcha. I hope the bonuses were show up for optional team activities, and he didn't get them.
Well, yeah.
I know it's not. I know. So thoughts on Lattimore? Any quick thoughts here?
I think. Look, Marshawn Lattimore is a bust. Okay, it's never going to work. It's sometimes these trades work, sometimes they don't. He didn't impress me at all. I realized that he was injured, but even when he was back, his reactions were slow. He just didn't play well in the scope of the defense at all. And I think they're going to have to get rid of him.
Dave?
Well, I'm kind of a bit on the opposite end of that a little bit. I think there's a lot to say about him. I think he made mention this all season that he definitely tried to come back too soon from his hamstring. And we see that from players all the time. You think you're okay, you come through, it feels good, you start running. Next thing you know, you start tweaking it. And hamstrings are something that lingers all year long. You never get rid of them. I'm sure, if one of us tear a hamstring, we're pretty much done for almost the rest of the year because we don't go through the same kind of rehab they do. But the whole point with Lattimore is I think I'm not writing him off as a bust just yet, and he's been looking good in OTAs when he was here for minicamp. He definitely has a burst back. He definitely has a good movement on his legs, and he's quick on his feet right now. So as far as the bust label, I'm kind of leaving that off to the side for right now and seeing how this season goes, because corners don't fall off the map like running backs do. They don't hit a wall like running backs do. They definitely can have longevity in the league. And before he hurt his hamstring, he was one of the premier corners in the league, period. There was no question about that. So I'm still hopeful that he can get back, maybe not to what he used to be fully, but if he gets back to at least 60% of what he was, that's going to be great for this team. So we'll see.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm done with him.
I'm definitely on the pessimistic side. All right, next up, Big Mike Sanderstill, probably the nicest surprise of the draft last year. I think Sanderstill, they drafted him to be the slot corner, but he really played well outside. I think he'd shown he could be a capable number 2 on this team for a long time already. I know they're going to kick him back into the slot just because they like him there positionally. But if I were Washington, my plan would be, if we're playing two corners, he's out there. If we're playing 3 corners, he's out there and in the slot. that would be kind of my approach with him. I love what we saw out of him last year.
Well, first of all, I think you labeling him Big Mike is not appropriate given that he's 5'9". Just for the record.
That's why it's his name. That's where his name comes from.
He's big to me, Steve.
Well, yeah, by everybody's big by your standards. I mean,
he's taller than you technically.
Certainly had a great year. I'm not willing to say he would be good, a plus level player outside of the slot yet. We'll see. Certainly I think he's a quality slot player, great draft pick, success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. All right, next one up. I'm gonna say the next guy on the roster. I'm slotting him in as number 3 is the draft pick they made this year, Trey Amos, out of Mississippi, 6'1", 190. There's been a lot of positives about him coming out of camp reports too. How can you not be excited if they found another good corner in this draft? That kind of makes up for maybe Lattimore being a letdown if they're building a decent secondary through the draft.
I don't even know what to say about him.
Yeah. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I think it's too early. I know he hasn't signed his contract yet. He's the only one, which makes me wonder what he's possibly, because the money is slotted now. I mean, so what are you arguing over? That makes me a little uneasy.
Right. I hope Washington's not doing the weird nonsense Cincinnati is, where they're trying to defer payments or whatever it is.
No, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
Not for him.
No.
Well, if I just kind of repeat on what some of the people say in terms of analyst wise and everything, I think he's kind of taken OTAs by storm a little bit in terms of how quickly he's picked everything up with defense wise. I mean, he definitely looks the part no matter where he's at on the field, who he's covering. I mean, he's a good press corner. He's a smart corner. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, that's just kind of everything what people have been saying from camp so far. So.
Yeah. All right. I have number 4 on my pencil death chart as Noah Igbinoghene, who they brought back. Now, he had some struggles at times, but I think for a depth guy, for a 4th corner, this is a perfect, number 4 guy on the team. He can start if you need him for a game or two. I don't know if you'd want him to do it, a full season, but he had more good plays than bad overall last season.
I mean, he was a quality free agent signing.
Yeah.
It's not a big name. I mean, I didn't have any expectations for him whatsoever. He's not making a lot of money. He's got a $1.5 million cap hit, for goodness sakes. He's a quality NFL player and an asset to the team. So I can't disagree with what you said about him.
Well, I mean, he kind of bailed the team out last year because of the signing of Davis was an absolute mess last year. I mean, he was not good at all.
Yeah.
And when he came in and played, he did very, very well. I mean, it's as number 4th corner, I like what we have in that right there. So.
Yeah, I think so. All right, I'm just going to read through the rest of the names because I do want to get to Steve's article. So we have Kayvon Seymour, Bobby Price, Jonathan Jones is their big free agent signing out of New England. He'll probably make the team. He got a big payday.
He's a physical corner.
He's a good physical corner, yeah. And then the undrafted free agents, Carlin Vigors and Fentrell Cypress out of Florida State. So
I can't say I can know anything about any of those players.
No,
except Jonathan Jones, yes, but the rest of them, no idea.
You haven't watched a lot of Carlin Vigors film?
I haven't watched Carlin Vigors film yet. No.
Yeah. You haven't vigorously been watching any of it, have you?
No, I have not.
No. All right. Well, that is the corner group. They'll probably keep 5 guys. I think it's kind of safe to know who's going to be in. Jones will be in because they gave him a big contract, and you got the 2 draft picks, you got Lattimore, and I think Noah Igbinoghene will be back too. So if they keep 5, those would be my 5. Anyone got any issues? Disagreements?
No.
Yeah, I mean Lattimore, Sandra Sill, Jones, Igbinoghene, and what's that? Amos? Yeah, that has to be the group.
Right.
Realistically.
Maybe one guy makes it as a special teams guy.
Maybe. Yeah.
Versus 6. All All right, so that is the corner group. Let us talk about Steve. You did a film study on Washington's draft pick at running back, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, JCM, as a lot of people call him, just because that's a long name, dude. So
Yeah,
we
it
like
sounds
to
like a law
initialize.
firm. It
Yeah.
sounds like a law firm. Ja'Cory Krosky and Merritt.
Yep.
So my thought process here was, Washington's running game was average at best, I would say. The non-Jaden Daniels running game.
That's being nice.
Brian.
That-
I
yeah.
mean, Brian Robinson. We've been through this, and so
Yeah.
I was, and I've noticed a lot of fans, certainly the ones in our comment section, really think a lot of him, and so I really wanted to kind of do a dive into what I saw of him. I'm certainly no expert, but I can watch film. So I watched 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Now the history of him in short version is he played for 3 different teams. Now he only played 1 game last season with Auburn or Arizona rather, sorry. And the reason is the NCAA backtracked and said he didn't actually redshirt in 2019, so he ran out of eligibility. That's why I didn't play last year. So I watched that game. So he was at Alabama State, New Mexico, and then the 1 game in Arizona. So I watched the game last year, which ironically was New Mexico, his old team against his new team. And then I watched 3 of the New Mexico games: New Mexico State, Boise State, and the Utah game. That's when he ran for 233 yards. What I saw of him was a guy who was able to take advantage of some really poor defenses. There were some massive gaping holes, and he had the vision to see the holes, get through the holes. But I also saw a lot of really poor tackling he was beneficiary of. I don't think he's much of a power runner. He is an inside runner. He's more of like a zone running.
Yeah, he's a
running
one-cut
back.
guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think because he does have moves, he does have speed. The speed translates well on the field. He can cut. He can juke. He's not Barry Sanders, but he can juke some people out. But where he gets really hung up, if there's not a lot of running room, he's going to go down, and he's not going to break too many tackles. I thought he was a liability to a certain extent as a pass blocker, and he almost was never used at all in the passing game. Don't know why. There's not a lot of evidence. I think 4 games I watched, where him dropping balls. I think I saw him with 1 pass attempt that the pass was uncatchable. So I don't know about that. So I think he can, in all cases, he is a running back who was never the feature back. Even the 233-yard game, he's part of a tandem, and so that's what he's going to be in NFL. But I'm just afraid with him, as positive as a collegiate experience that he had in some respects, that it may not translate well, just because there's the defenses he was facing in the Mountain West are so below par, and the running lanes were lanes that any decent running back could have taken advantage of. So I'm positive about him, but I have reservations.
He is the smaller guy. He's 5'10", 206, which, I mean, that's not tiny, obviously, but by NFL standards, that's a smallish running back.
He's not a power back.
Yeah.
No.
He's not.
Yeah, so I don't expect, when I see a guy below like 220, I assume he's going down on the first tackle a lot. Like that's just a fact of life.
And he was doing that, when he couldn't juke his way out of it, against the Mountain West teams.
Right.
And that's my fear. That's the problem. I don't think this guy is Alfred Morris. Put it like that. He's going to come out of nowhere to, well, I mean, he came out of nowhere to be,
I got you.
Serious starter.
Gotcha. You were talking in terms of potential.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but I think he can bring some value as a rotational piece. One, what you described is something Washington has lacked. They have not had a good zone runner. They have not had a guy who can make those kind of plays. Even if it's like, hey, we're going to give him 5 to 8 runs a game, and he'll maybe get one big 15-yarder, and the others are just meh. But like they haven't had that.
I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I'm just saying I'm not sure. I mean, be positive about whoever you want. I mean, that's what the nature of fandom. But I'm just not sure that I didn't see enough evidence that it's going to translate into the NFL the way some people hope it will. Put it like that.
we are also talking about a guy drafted 29th in the 7th round. Like,
Which is right.
Yeah.
There's no busts for a player like that. Okay.
right.
I
Everything they
refuse to
give you
call
is a plus.
I refuse to call a 7th rounder a bust. I don't mean to imply that. I just mean that for those of you who are super positive about it, good for you. I'm glad. I was a little bit uneasy about going that far about him.
Right. The grading curve for a 7th rounder is if they're on your team, that's probably good. If they play at all, that's great. If they can last the duration of their contract, that's a miracle as a 7th rounder.
Listen, I did that whole huge draft study.
Yep.
Nobody knows more about draft
Yep.
odds than me. And I'm telling you right now, a 7th rounder that becomes like a plus level starter is a unicorn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like if they make it 4 years, it's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming in, no pressure, no expectations, except for some of the expectations by a few fans are overly optimistic. I think I think he comes into an ideal situation to where this running back core this running back room he's in is not very good, not very deep. He'll have an opportunity to grab a role, have an opportunity to grow into a future role potentially. I mean, and you add a little bit more speed, a little more burst in that backfield, maybe come in as a really good number 3 guy on a depth chart going down in the future. Someone who can come in and start a game or two when you need it. But I mean, this by no means is not a guy to where, okay, well, we don't have to draft the guy next year. We're good going forward. He's not that guy.
No.
Not right
now.
Oh, and I wanted to add that I agree with all that. Wanted to add, I think he's a first and second down guy only. Unless there's something we don't know about his pass catching ability, or he can dramatically improve in pass blocking. I think he's first and second down only for now, at least.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense given his skill set. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, he came out of high school as a 0-star recruit.
He was a 0-star recruit, yeah.
And then that's where he went to Appalachian State first.
Oh, he went to Alabama State.
I'm sorry, Alabama. I was at A&M, right, or something like that. Alabama A&M.
Yeah, I think it was Alabama State.
Alabama State,
which is like Division II or something.
Yeah, and then he came, and then he came out of there with the what would be equivalent to almost like a 3-star type rating. And part of what killed him was the fact he was never looked at as a 3-down guy coming out of high school.
Right.
So I mean, there is like you said, Steve, there's absolutely nothing to suggest that he can be a 3-down running back in the league. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was a good write-up, Steve. I think you did a good job there. All right, so that should wrap up the show. One last thing. Congratulations to DC. We did win a football championship in the United Football League. So DC won 58-34 in the UFL's championship game versus Michigan. Good for us.
Did you go to another championship rally at some bar somewhere? Were you the only one?
No,
there?
And they have not done a parade yet either, that I know of.
Because what was the one where you went to a rally and nobody was there but you?
Yep. It was a Washington Valor Arena Football League championship. Yeah. They had the championship celebration at the Green Turtle inside the Verizon Center in DC. And literally like there were 3 fans and like 6 players. And the players did not want to be bothered. They made that very clear, even though I was like, wait, I make a lot more money than all the players at that point.
You actually could have gotten them some free publicity too, but
nope, none of them wanted any. So, you know whose brother was on that team? Now that I think about it, Josh Norman's brother played corner for that team.
Oh,
that was funny. Yes, he was a better corner for that team than Josh Norman was for Washington.
He probably had more money than you did.
He probably from his brother, yes.
From his brother, yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, guys, that wraps it up this week. We will talk to you all next week when hopefully there's something going on. But there won't be. All right. Later.
Yeah, we had to BS our way through a lot of that.